Ready.
Hi everyone, I'm Miss Ray and welcome to another episode of Inner Harbor Cast. Today we're highlighting an organization making a difference in central and upstate New York. Today we're recognizing the Wait With You Foundation, which is a Rochester-based nonprofit that supports families experiencing high-risk pregnancies and extended hospital stays. Joining me today is founder Morgan Toda and her husband Mike. How are you both doing today?
Great.
Doing great. Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. So, really quick before we dive into all of the details about this foundation, can you start by telling us what is the Wait With You Foundation and what kind of inspired the creation for this?
Yeah. So the Wait With You Foundation, it originally started because as of almost a year ago, I was admitted to Strong Memorial Hospital for a high-risk pregnancy. I had what was called placenta previa. And so in order to keep me and my son, whose name's Danny, safe, I had to live in antepartum for 7 weeks. So we just experience inside the hospital, which was crazy. And every time, and my husband would work remotely from my room every day. And I just kept saying, I wish I could help. I wish I could change this place. Like I was lucky because he could be there every day and they would bring my kids every day. But I would see people coming from, Utica, Binghamton, Syracuse, Buffalo, and they didn't have the support that I had. So I just kept saying, like, how can we make a change? So then I had this idea at Christmas that I wanted to get everyone a Christmas gift that was on Amazon. Oh, for like, so I think we should.
Yeah.
And so we
Grew
did.
from there. Yeah, it grew from there. Very cool. And when did this originate? When did you guys start your nonprofit?
You can go ahead.
Yeah, we started in December of 2025. It kind of was, an idea for the holidays that took on a life of its own and became a full-fledged foundation. And we've been kind of off to the races since for the last 3-4 months here.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. And for those that may not be familiar with what an antepartum hospital stay may be, can you kind of go into like what that is and why that can be such a hard time or challenge for families?
Yes. So it's similar to labor and delivery, except you live there. So and at least in Rochester, you have a roommate. And every day you are checked at 8, 12, and 4 for vitals. You have non-stress tests to make sure that you and the baby are okay. And then high-risk fetal medicine comes in and they, do an assessment, make sure you're well, that your baby's okay. And then each day they just see the risk at which keeping you pregnant and keeping the baby. The reason I had to stay was because I had high-risk bleeds. And they just really reiterated, like, you need to be here so that you are as close to a doctor as possible. Because even though we lived, 20 minutes from the hospital, we might not have made it back in time. So,
Yeah.
so that.
Yeah, and I think just to piggyback on that, I mean, it's just could be a really stressful time for families, right? Our family, we had 3 other kids at home, and she was admitted to for her being having to stay at the hospital. So it was hard on our family to have to stay there away from us. And so there's just a ton of challenges that go along with that, and just the anxiety of being in a hospital because you have a high risk pregnancy. Kind of the constant worry about the health, your own health, and the health of the baby, and just can be really unpredictable and really challenging. So, we wanted to support people that went through what we went through.
Personal experience, you kind of that there was a problem. There wasn't as much support in that end, in that department. So you decided to make a change.
I
You
did.
said, I got to make a change. You started the Wait With You Foundation. So what are some of the things that you provide for the community, for mamas and babies while they're
Yeah.
staying?
So we started with the comfort kit. So typically when you get to either labor and delivery or antepartum, it's because of an emergency. So when I went the first 2 times, I didn't pack anything. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't have clothes. I didn't have products, like any of that stuff. So now every time someone is admitted card to go get a coffee, basically helpful in the moment. We also created a activity cart. So every time Mike would bring my kids, he'd have to pack snacks and games and crayons and coloring books and all these things. And I just said, what would be something that could have helped Mike in that moment? So we made an activity cart. So there's board games and there's things for kids to do. There's things for adults to do. So just anything I could think of that was like a burden on Mike.
Yeah, and I think to her point, a lot of times these women are getting admitted unexpectedly, so they have nothing prepared, right? And something as simple as like nail clippers or like shampoo, right? And so, as I said, like the nursing staff's amazing, but they can only do so much, and there's so much that you need if you're living in the hospital, right? All those things that you kind of just take for granted when you're at home. And so we thought if we could provide some of that stuff and ease the burden, and as Morgan said earlier, like some of the significant others may not be able to be there as much, and so if you need something and you have no one to kind of, and you can't leave the hospital yourself and no one's with you to kind of go get that, we thought, let's try to bring it to them and make it so it's kind of just a kit that you get as soon as you get to antepartum to give you some of the essentials. And then obviously with the activity card stuff, like as you wait, it can be boring at times, right? Like you hope it's boring because that means nothing crazy is happening or nothing dangerous is happening. But there's a lot just sitting around waiting. So to the extent you can have some, keep your mind busy.
And then recently we also made sure every bed had a sound machine, because when you live in the hospital, I mean, everyone that's ever been in a hospital knows you don't sleep well. To not sleep well for 7 weeks is a really long time. So we got every bed a sound machine. We donated, I think 5 Kindles. We are trying to
get about the Rokus.
We gave them 10 Rokus. We're trying to get every bed a Roku. And there was something else that we also did recently. It'll come to me, but we're just really trying to help them just make it through.
Yeah.
In a mentally healthier space than what we were some days.
Yeah, just make it a little easier to get through the process, have the resources there so that there isn't stress about how am I going to get shampoo? How am I going to get my toothpaste and stuff like that? Those are easy things that in that time, mamas and families really shouldn't be stressing out about. So it's really cool that you took that kind of that down thing, spot. You were like, there's a problem. You didn't take it personally. You said, you know what? We're going to make a difference. We're going to make a change. And that's just what you did.
That's right.
Very cool. So the work doesn't just start with you. I'm sure you guys are involved within your community. There's community supports, things like that. So where are you're providing supports within Strong Hospital in Rochester, right? Very cool. How did that partnership come about? Why did you choose Strong?
So actually in Rochester, the reason you are in antepartum at Strong is because that's where the NICU is. So anytime you have a baby, I believe 4 weeks, they send you to Strong. So that's why a lot of people come from all over New York State, is because they have the best NICU in the area. So the reason that there's a higher number of antepartum patients there is because when you exit the doors and turn left, that's where you walk into the NICU. So it's basically not only to keep you safe, but then your baby's also in the best of hands within a couple feet. So so that's why.
Yeah, and we've gotten a lot of support from the nursing staff at Strong. We kind of developed a relationship with them while we were there. And more, but some stuff in the hospital and the bureaucracy to do. But the support from the nursing staff there has been great, and they've been really supportive of what we're trying to do and really appreciative of the efforts so far.
That's wonderful. And how has community response been? I know that this is a newer nonprofit. You are maybe 6, 7 months, 8 months into the works. So how has the response been in the first year of the Wait With You Foundation?
And no one tells me no. So I just keep asking.
Well, that's good.
It's not a no, it's just a not yet.
Like I just said, everyone has compassion. Like everyone obviously is born from another human, and so everyone has compassion for this. Honestly, some people think that they can't even fathom that people go through things like this.
Mhm.
So just wanting to help, and then I'm just learning from creating a nonprofit. Everyone wants to help, they just have to figure out how. So, for example, our next step is we want to provide more mental health well-being. So I'm trying to get like a monthly yoga instructor. I'm trying to get mini maternity photos to these people who can't get them because they're in the hospital. We've had people offer to do like Reiki or what's another one? Oh, mental health, like group mental health support. So the support's there. It's like Mike said, it has to go through legal. There's a lot of rules that I'm learning. But everybody wants to help, and it's really, really amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think what's been great is the community support. As you hear these stories talking about the foundation, like, oh, I had a there's time or services to the foundation because they can kind of resonate with the story, and they're like, oh, I know someone who had a high risk pregnancy, and they were at strong for a couple weeks, and so the community support's been great, and honestly kind of blew away our expectations, especially right off the bat here. So it's been exciting.
That's very cool. And as you were just saying, you were saying like being able to share these stories, you realize that other people are going through this as well, but also it kind of prepares people that didn't know that this could happen to them or even can happen if you were to have a baby. So when I looked on your website, I saw that you had like podcast style interviews
Mhm.
with stories and like information about this. Why are things and conversations like that important to have?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, part of the reason, I mean, beyond like the comfort kits and providing those support services to people in antepartum is really kind of the mental health aspect of it. Because when you're there, and if you have nobody kind of with you, you feel very isolated. You can feel very isolated, very alone. Like, why did this happen to me? Like, this doesn't happen to other people. But the more we tell the story of the foundation and Morgan's story, our story, the more other people are willing to share their story, and it just makes, I think, the people, if they're in antepartum and they see other people's stories, like, okay, they went through that too, they got through it, like I can do the same, and just having that kind of bond or that so it could be a person to talk to about what they went through, and so I think that just helps a ton from a mental health standpoint to know like you're not alone. There's other people out there that have gone through this, and they're willing to help, they're willing to talk, willing to share their story, and it makes it not so, hopefully it makes it a little lighter, not so daunting of like, I don't know how I would survive. 'Cause when we first got admitted, when she first got admitted, and I was looking at, it could have, 6, 7, 8, whatever, however long, I was like, I don't know how we're gonna manage this. I don't know how it's gonna be possible, right? But like,
Yeah.
and we didn't know a lot of other stories because people don't love to talk about this stuff, right? It can be a traumatic experience, and there was no foundation before we created it. So now that there's other stories out there, people are like, oh, okay, I know this can happen. I know if it's happening to me, I know it's happened to other people, and like I'm not alone, and I can, it helps hopefully to get through it from a mental health standpoint. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and on our Instagram, I also like to share like examples of different types of seasons. So that way, it was harder to explain to someone what I was going through or to educate them on it when you don't know anything about it yourself. So I'm just like, doing weekly posts of, this type of high risk pregnancy, this type of high risk pregnancy, and also to just posting about other people's stories. And then these sweet people are reaching out to me just saying, I felt so scared and so alone. Like there's no way this could have happened to someone else. And it does make you feel a little bit better to be like, okay, they're okay. Survived. Slogan is that I told my kids all the time is, this isn't for us. Like one of the hardest parts was our kids at the time were 7, 5, and 3. And so, the 3-year-old's concept of time was a little better to manage, but the 7-year-old, he knew like that's a long time to go in.
Yeah.
I went in on St. Patrick's Day, and then I had Danny on May 4th. And that is a very, very long time. And he knew that. So just learning that there are, outlets, there's mental health support. We also reach out to his elementary school to work on his mental health about it. So yeah, just knowing the steps to take, because I tried to also put together a resources page to be like, okay, hold on. Mental much information as possible.
Yeah, and kind of off of that, so this is like by providing these mental health resources, you're providing support not only when people are in the hospital, but even afterwards. If they say they're struggling with postpartum or something afterwards beyond that, but it could have stemmed from the hospital, you're providing those supports beyond that.
Right. And so we're more like a database of resources, being like, here's a mental health provider that specializes in this. Or for example, not everyone who comes to antepartum leaves with a baby, so I have a whole list of resources for support after loss. I had a whole, if for go to chiropractor, go help you move and also be the best parent that you can be to the trauma of the antepartum stay, and then the chances of you also taking on the trauma of a NICU stay. So there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a lot going on.
But you're there to make sure that process is a little easier, which is very, very nice.
Yep.
Yeah. So you two are a power couple, husband and wife, working through, sharing your message. Do you have anybody else on your team, or is it really you two starting and then you're hoping to expand?
No, we are lucky. We have both families were the most supportive throughout our hospital. Both almost every single day. They helped watch them, and now they're on our board. And then just friends, family, everyone who wanted to continue to support. We're really lucky.
Yeah, Morgan's definitely the driving force. She leads the charge, but then we do have also a great board and other people to support, and all our family and friends have been really supportive and want to do anything they can to help. So it's been great.
That's wonderful. And is there ways that listeners can help support your mission? Can we go to your website?
So our website, it's a wish list. I'm always updating that for the comfort kits. I forgot to mention, we donate comfort kits monthly. We were actually doing 20 a month, and then we realized that wasn't enough, which is crazy to think that more than 20 people are admitted to antepartum every month. So we're upping it to 25 or 30. But then we're going to see like where the number falls of how many they need. And then, so there's that. We also have PayPal, Venmo, or Zephy, which is the nonprofit donating link, to help fund the comfort kits. And also we were looking for business sponsors. If you want to touch on that, he's the money guy.
Business sponsors would be great. Like we'd look for like one or two of the cost of the comfort kits. And obviously just all monetary donations are great to help with some of these other support services that we want to do. Some of the yoga or mental health services that are kind of beyond just the normal regular monthly comfort kit and activity card stuff. And then we're also doing a fundraiser later this summer, a dinner, fundraiser dinner. We're looking for sponsors for that. So there's information on the website for that, for sponsorships and other we're doing a raffle baskets. So we've got like Syracuse Mets donated for the raffle baskets.
Cool. Just went there yesterday. And season starts next week.
And Syracuse Orange football. So like we've been reaching out to folks for donations for that. So all that stuff's on the website.
And we also collaborated recently with Once Upon a Child. So we set up, you know how you can go to Once Upon a Child and sell all your clothes. We had asked if we could put just a flyer up and say, if you could donate any clothes that you don't want, drop them at these 3 locations, and then they go directly to the NICU. So we're just like trying to make this as big community project as we can.
Still in the work, so there's more to come for sure. But
of course, we're just getting started.
Oh my gosh, this is awesome.
We're trying our best.
You're doing great. You're
Appreciate
doing
it.
amazing. Is there any final thoughts, any last things that you want to say before?
I mean, if you are in antepartum right now and you want to reach out, and if you need anyone to talk to, please reach out on the website or Instagram or Facebook.
Is that just the Wait With You foundation? Can they just find that on
Yep.
Instagram?
So it's the waitwithyoufoundation.org. And then same thing on Facebook and Instagram is the same one. But I'm always happy to talk. It always feels better when it comes from someone who lived it versus someone who doesn't know what to say, because people don't always
know how to comfort.
They don't. I mean, they mean well. The words I'm always happy to listen, and you can also
follow us on social media, visit the website, and every dollar counts. So
Yeah.
appreciate the support.
Of course. Well, thank you, Mike. Thank you, Morgan, for coming in. This was the Wait With You Foundation. It's an organization, as you can see, that's making a difference. And more, support their mission, or find out ways to get involved, you can visit their website at waitwithyoufoundation.org, or like they said, follow their social medias. Every little bit of support helps remind these families that they're not alone. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Perfect.
You're so good.